Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I bet you can guess what we'll be talking about today. Oh, the drama. Oh, the memes. My goodness. I have been keeping up with all the drama surrounding this film and what's being discussed, but I still wanted to watch this movie because the trailer looked amazing. But then the critics' reviews came out and I was like, oh? But I still wanted to watch this film for Florence Pugh because she's incredibly talented, and I knew that in the worst case scenario, she would be the film's saving grace. And also my friend got free tickets to an early screening of this film, so it literally costed me nothing. And let's just say I have thoughts. I was trying to think of a way to do this video, especially because the movie hasn't come out yet, so I will do a no spoiler review, and then at the end I will have a section where there will be spoilers, so you have been warned. So from what you can gather from the trailer, which gave a lot away, by the way, Don't Worry Darling is about a 1950s housewife, Alice, living with her husband Jack in this utopian experimental community. After some unusual encounters and occurrences, Alice begins to worry that Jack's boss could be hiding disturbing secrets. Here's how I'll sum up my overall thoughts on the film. It's a film that's trying to be a long Black Mirror episode. It's trying to be a Jordan Peele film, emphasis on the fact that it's trying. And before I get into my detailed thoughts on the film, I feel like I need to say this. I was very surprised at the lack of warnings about the content in this film. So in the spoiler section of this video, I'll be going more into why, but if you plan on watching the film or watching the spoiler section of my video, trigger warning for suicide and sexual assault. So I'll be honest, I don't remember a ton from the beginning of the movie other than there were a lot of scenes that were lackluster. My two biggest issues was that one, they did that thing that movies with mediocre writing do where they have one character explain all of the exposition of the film in one scene with other characters. Like when a character goes, hey, remember that thing that happened to this person because of that thing and that person's past and this person's that and whatever, and now here's the historical context, major plot points prior to this film, and the setting of this entire film all laid out for you? Yeah, Olivia Wilde's character does that. And two, the film has a lot of eerie scenes and random occurrences that I thought would be symbolic, but weren't. If you saw the trailer, you saw this plane fly over Alice, you saw that she was wiping the windows and her walls close in on her and crush her face, you saw her wrap saran wrap all over her head, and things like that. You would think that would be more symbolic of something, but it actually doesn't mean much more than what you can probably gauge from just watching the trailer. Unless someone wants to go full Charlie from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, there isn't much to say about what those scenes mean. And next I'll talk about what a lot of people have been discussing online, and that's the intimate scenes and Harry Styles' performance. In my opinion, the intimate scenes were not necessary and didn't serve anything to the film. They lasted a little too long in my opinion, and one of them was particularly uncomfortable. I really want to talk about why I think that way, and I can't really do it without giving away spoilers and having some of you probably get upset with me, so I will put that in the spoiler section. As for Harry Styles in this film, it wasn't giving. And if you're a Harry Styles fan, just know that I think he's an incredibly talented musician and I love Harry's house, but as an actor, I have to be honest, his performance was one of the weakest parts of this film. Please don't come after me, Harry stans. Me and my friend who watched the film didn't feel like he was committing to a lot of his dialogue, and he didn't show a lot of emotional range in this film as a result. He sang well, he did a little singy sing, and he knew how to yell at Florence Pugh, but yeah, it just wasn't strong for me, which is unfortunate because his character is actually really important. That being said, Florence Pugh and Chris Pine absolutely blew me away. They did so well. Chris Pine plays Frank, Jack's boss and the leader of the Victory Project that they're working on. As you can tell from the trailer, Alice and Frank have tension between each other as Alice starts to wonder and find out more about the Victory Project. Their scenes together were the best scenes in the film in my opinion. I don't even think I'm saying anything new here in terms of Florence's performance because all the good reviews for this film shout her out specifically, and if you've seen some of her other work, you know that she's going to win an Oscar someday. Chris Pine's performance is actually kind of unexpected for me though, not because I don't think he's a great actor, but because I was surrounded by all the drama of this film that I kind of forgot that he was actually playing a character that would be significant. But he played this secretive, creepy boss puppeteer guy really well. I hope that when this film is put through award season, which it will be, that people at least acknowledge his performance. I do, however, think he's really underutilized in this film, and I also think that Gemma Chan is underutilized in this film. Gemma plays Shelley, Frank's wife, and I really wish she had a larger role. Okay, let's dive into spoilers. So quick rundown on how it all unfolds. Alice finds out that this utopian society she lives in is actually this fake simulation where all the women have been brainwashed and forced into there by their husbands, and the whole thing is run by Frank. Alice was actually a nurse, I think. She worked in a hospital and she had this awful relationship with Jack, and it just wasn't working. And so that's why Jack submitted himself and forcibly submitted Alice to this utopian society. And I will start by going back to the intimate scenes of this film. So there are 2 of these scenes, both of them are shown in the trailer. One of them is that kitchen table scene, and I have nothing to say about that scene other than the fact that they literally wasted a 5-course meal just to do it on the table. But anyway, the second one happens at Frank's house in Frank's room. Basically, Jack goes to adjust his tie and Alice is trying to find him and finds him in one of Frank's rooms. Jack then initiates and Alice says no and that they shouldn't because it isn't their home and it isn't their room. But Jack proceeds anyway. And then Frank finds them and watches, and it's just uncomfortable, and Alice looks uncomfortable, and then the film just moves along. And here's the thing, this film is about the oppression and entrapment of women by men, and so you could argue that this scene, which is not consensual by the way, is supposed to show that, but the intimate scenes in this film are centered around female pleasure. Jack never gets pleasure out of these scenes. And so not only does it not make sense when you consider that these men are actually oppressors that have forced these women to live in this utopian society because they weren't satisfied with them in their real lives, but it also just makes these scenes unnecessary. And based on what Florence Pugh has said about those scenes, I wonder how she really feels about them and if she just preferred that they not had been in the film either. Also, I just want to say that I gave a trigger warning because of that second scene, but also because when Alice finds out, she regains memories from her real life where things weren't working out with Jack and she didn't want to be intimate with him and she didn't really want any of that with him. And so with that, neither of the intimate scenes in this film were consensual because she was brainwashed. And so I'm sure this was intentional, but I do feel compelled to warn people about viewing this film because of that, and I wasn't really aware that that would be in this film. Now I'll lastly get into my qualms about the ending of the film. So spoiler for the ending, Alice escapes and makes it back to the real world. Because husbands can forcibly submit their wives, she does this by killing Jack and then escaping to the headquarters. It just didn't fit since the film was going for a story about how women are oppressed and trapped into miserable lives by men. In my opinion, they should have gone for a darker ending, which I think would have made a bolder statement about these themes. The other thing I'll say about the ending is that the twists are very underwhelming. The main twist is that Jack forced Alice into this utopian society, but you can already gather that from the beginning and even the trailer perhaps. You can tell from the trailer that all the men are in on something, and so when we learn that Jack is actually a very bad guy, we learn that, but it's not really a surprise because we can kind of see it coming. He just wasn't listening to Alice in the beginning at all, so you can already kind of tell that he was in on something. And then there are 2 other twists. For Olivia Wilde's character, she kept telling Alice from the beginning that she is out of her mind and that they're fine and their lives are fine. But when Alice uncovers the truth about what their lives are supposed to be like in the real world, Olivia Wilde's character reveals that she had known the whole time. She hadn't said or done anything because she chose to be in this society. She and her husband lost a baby in real life, so they submitted themselves willingly in order to have fake children in this fake life. For Shelley, who's Gemma's character, we also learned that she had known the whole time. As Alice is trying to escape in the end, Shelley goes up to Frank and stabs him and kills him and says something along the lines of how this should have ended a long time ago. It came out of nowhere and doesn't answer any of our questions, and in fact just makes us pose even more questions like how and why she knew and why she didn't even say or do anything. The thing about these 2 twists is that they don't serve the story or provide anything to this ending. And while I don't disagree with these 2 twists, I just don't think there's a lot of nuance or significance to them, especially when you consider the fact that both these characters were underused throughout the entire film. What I will say about this film is that the internet and online film critics are making it seem so much worse than it actually is. Would I have given it a 33% on Rotten Tomatoes? No. I do think that this story in and of itself is interesting and that the main performance was incredible, but it's not a great movie. I think I would give it like a 55% on Rotten Tomatoes because all these elements are there to make the story really good and to make the film great, and it's all laid out. It just didn't come together well at all. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Don't Worry Darling. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Bye!